Shalom, buenas tardes, Sosba, giving no praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Kakudash, double honors to the Apostle, Great Millstone, and honors to you brothers doing the work of the Most High in truth and in sincerity. Yahweh's real name with whom the world ignorantly calls God, Jehovah, Yahweh. His real name is Yahweh, and Son's true name is Yahweh Shai. And when we pray Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, meaning in, meaning then Sham, meaning names Yahweh and the name of Yahweh Shai. This is from The Guardian. Whoever is behind Kerman bombing risks igniting regional war. Right, so this was yesterday, an op-ed, Wednesday the 3rd. Right, and yeah, when we see these things happening, and it's been a 2024 of event after event after event. Right now, this just so happens to be exactly 4 years after the death of Suleiman Kamani, right? And would you call it? Of all once again of all the times, right? It could have happened last year or the year before, right? But the spirit had it whereby it happened this year, right? Once again after earthquakes, two earthquakes, major one in Japan, minor one in California on the first, right? Plane crashes and a politician being stabbed on the second, Korean politician being stabbed on the second, yeah, and this happened. Would you call it on the third, right? There's still a long way to go for the rest of the fourth, so we'll see what's going on, right? It says US points towards Islamic State or Sunni extremist by Iran has accused Israel, of course, right? So it is still unclear who's responsible for the double bombing of a crowd in the southeastern Iranian city of Kerman, but whoever is behind the outrage is clearly willing to risk igniting a regional war, right? In Washington, officials have been pointing towards a possible role of IS or some affiliated Sunni extremist groups and away from the partnership of Israel and the Iranian rebel group, the Mujahideen-e-Khalq, right, MEK, who have reportedly been behind previous attacks deep inside Iran, right? Those earlier attacks, which if would you call it, if they're saying putting these two in the same sentence, right, you can be pretty damn sure they're the same people, right? Because that's how Esau that's how Esau does. He goes deep into these countries, right? He's got sleeper cells there, right? The scriptures talk about this, man. How it talks about how would you call it, he used to take peace from earth, right? Speaks about in Psalms 140 how they're constantly gathered together for war, right? Speaks about neither keepeth at home, they covet fields and take them by violence, right? Which once again is why he'll have all of these different groups, right, that he's created. Even when you talk about IS, right, those are groups that they've created, right, for to basically get what it is that they want. And in fact, since would you call it, quoted some of these, right? This is Micah 2 from the top, as well to them that devise iniquity, right? And all of these different embedded groups, right, are part of that iniquity, man, right? Because from those embedded groups that go and cause trouble in these countries, right, you basically end up in situations where those countries end up being the worst for it, right? But that's just because this man is the devil. Okay, so it says, and work evil upon their beds, right? When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand, right? The Lord Yahweh gave them this power, right, to take peace from earth, right? However, that we're coming up to the end of that power system. The Lord is gonna put an end to this man's wicked and corrupt rulership, right? Where we're in those days. It says, and they cover fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away, right? That's why they're in places like Syria, right? They've just been in Syria stealing Syrian oil for however long, right? That's why they're constantly going and basically setting up shop in so many different countries and directing policy in those countries so that they can keep getting what they want. When you read Habakkuk, the second chapter speaks about how neither keepeth at home, right, and whose desire is as hell, right? I means cannot be satisfied. Okay, so we go back to the article. Says those early attacks have mostly been targeted assassinations, often on scientists or acts of sabotage. Wednesday's bombing in Kerman does not fit the pattern, US and UK officials argue. It was aimed at mourners marking the 4th anniversary of the US drone killing of Soleimani, a commander of the IRGC and arch foe of Israel and US, but the attack was a horrifically blunt instrument, leaving scores of civilians among the dead, so it would be a remarkable departure for MEK and the Mossad, right? Outwardly, at least, Iran's leadership displayed no doubts of the perpetrators on Wednesday. Basically, accused Israel and saying that they're going to pay a regrettable price, right, as you see there, but it says that this will be at the right time and the right place. Basically gave, as it says, some wiggle room, right? So the conventional wisdom in Washington and Tel Aviv has been that Iran did not want a conflict with Israel and its Western backers, at least not now, right? Its regional partners Hezbollah in Lebanon and Houthi forces in Yemen caused pain to Israel in solidarity with the suffering in Gaza, but Hezbollah's cross-border rocket salvos and the Houthi harassment of shipping have been calibrated, aimed below the threshold of reigniting the threshold aimed below the threshold required to ignite an all-out regional war, right? And that's it, because ultimately these different nations understand what happens. Right, these nations understand what's gonna happen when all when it gets heated. I understand that, look, this war, right, is gonna be the war to end all wars, right? This war is gonna come with with great death and great destruction, right? World War One and then more so World War Two, right? You started seeing some of the weaponries, but hey, believe the truth in that they all have things that we don't even know about, right? We hear rumors about these weapons, whether it be the DEWs, direct energy weapons, right, lasers, right, and bioweapons, of course, right, but more so those nukes, right, which are going to be flying in these days. When I get one that's just been sitting on my mind, not got this one out in a while, right? Because once again, there's in the world, the wars before, right? Especially if you look at like programs that depict it. Game of Thrones being one, the one where Thingy Stark, right, is basically being faced. He looks like he's about to be killed, right? Ramsay Bolton and his force are all coming out to him, right? That's how wars used to be. Isaiah 9:5, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but they shall be with burning and fuel of fire, right? And that's why there's going to be a great burning, right, on this earth, right? But that's okay, because what did Yahushua say? Yahushua says, look, I'm come to bring fire on earth, and what will I if it be already kindled? The Lord wants the fire to already be there, to already be burning, right? And death to be abound in place, right? And this was a great death, right? But once again, you look at all of the precepts specifically to do with the ICBMs. Scriptures refer to them as arrows, right? As an example, right? So we carry on. This is the point. However, and that's what I was gonna get. I'll get there in a second. It says, however, calibration is a delicate matter, especially when performed with high explosive. The risk of miscalculation started high and has kept rising. Right. So I just wanted to touch on that point there real quick in Ezekiel the 38th chapter, right? Around about the 9th or 10th verse. The 10th verse, right? Thus saith the Lord power, it shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought, right? Because when it comes down to it, when all is said and done, right, it's the Lord that's ultimately gonna put it in these different kings' minds to just shoot, press that button, to shoot that button, so that we can that this war can basically get to a head, so this war can do what it really get really to take the ultimately to send those nukes over, okay, right? So once again, everyone knows where this leads, which is as they say, right? Uh, that Iran did not want a conflict with Israel and its Western backers, at least not now. Right? Yeah, they may want to, be pissed off with them, but let's be real. Everyone knows that what happens when this war begins, right? This is Yes, yeah, so most of the drones and missile launched by the Houthis at Red Sea shipping have been intercepted. Pentagon that the Houthis are a threat to free navigation that has been allowed to fester too long. So he's saying, look, man, we need to stop, these attacks on these, on the navigation that the Houthis are doing. Right, it's causing problems. Right. It says on Wednesday, the U.S. and 11 of its global allies issued a warning to the Houthis that they would bear the responsibility of the consequences of further attacks on shipping. I don't anticipate there'll be another warning. Meanwhile, it is also impossible to know how the risk-benefit calculations in Tehran are being affected by the escalating course of events, right? Because once again, whatever is really going on behind the scenes, right? One of the things that forgets is he's not the one in control. Right, as scripture says, it's man may think his thoughts, but it's the Most High that guideth his steps. Right, so a man may be like, oh, whatever, what have you, but all it takes is the Lord, as we just read an example in Ezekiel the 38th chapter, right, for basically an individual to just be like, you know what, fuck this, right, and then the Lord puts the spirit on an individual to go rogue, right, because you got the, as has been explained, you got the kings of this world, right? They're doing whatever it is they're doing, all in cahoots, whatever, what have you. But you'll get certain men that are underneath, right, that are genuinely, annoyed at what's happening in Israel and in Gaza, right? And now they're seeing this happening as well, right? And then that's gonna piss them off to the point where they're like, look, man, F it, right? No, I'm not saying that's going to happen for sure, but this is how things are, right? Because at the end of the day, it's the Most High that guided the steps, right? I forget whether there was anything else of importance in there, but I'll put the article, Lord's will, in the description box, and you can read the rest. This is 2 Ezra 15 from 28. Behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east, i.e. the Middle East. When the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Right, with many chariots, the Ishmaelites have a lot of weaponry that they have bought from their respective allies. Right, so shall be carried as the wind upon earth. Right, but because the Lord is still coming to destroy them. Right, verse 30. I said also the Kermanians, right? We're going to come into that a second, right? Raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, right? And with the great power shall they come to join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. Okay, so Kermanians, you look into this here, right? It says Kermania, right? It says is a historical region that approximately corresponds to the current province of Kerman, Iran, right? And then you look where this particular attack was. That was in Kerman, right, in Iran. Okay, and then you see just a little map here. It's ancient, so basically around this region here, of the Persian Gulf, right? And that's it. So we're basically seeing these prophecies, right, come into pass. As these Iranians, they're annoyed first, killed Soleimani, right, top general. They kind of had to eat that, right? Yeah, they were allowed to drop a few bombs on an Iraqi airbase that was hosting Americans, but really for the most part they just had to eat that. Okay, and then but ultimately the Lord is still going to put the spirit in them, right, to basically do a madness. Okay, because this is all the Most High's movie, right? He says, then shall these be, then, so like verse 31 says, and then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature, right? Because when you read, I believe Genesis 16:11 to 12, right? These Ishmaelites, right, that you referred to as a wild man, right? So they're going to remember that the wild men, okay? It says, and if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them, then these shall be troubled, bled, and keep silence through their power, and shall flee. And the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them, and consume some of them, and in their host shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings. Okay, and then we're going to jump over to Joel 3:2. Right, because you once again it keeps talking about a regional war, right? Because that region is important to scriptures, right? That wider Middle East region, right? That is the valley of Yehoshaphat. Okay, it says I will Joel 3:2. I'll gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Yehoshaphat, right? Yahweh's judgment. It says, and will plead with them there for my people, for my heritage, right? Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land, right? And plead means to judge, right? And you've seen that they've parted the land of the Lord, right? So I'm going to jump down to verse 9. And you've been seeing all of these different nations that have been brought, their armies are all up in there, right? Ships, warships and whatever, what have you, in or near that region. Okay. Joel 3:9, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears, let the weak say, I am strong. Right, and that's what you've seen over the last couple of years, right, where small weak nations are basically now standing up and being like, yo, look man, we ain't just gonna take shit from these devils, right? We've got Russia backing us, which is what the beginning of Ezekiel the 38th chapter is going into, right? Be thou a guard unto them, i.e. come and protect, right, them, right? It says and when it says beat your plowshares into swords and pruning hooks into spears, that's basically saying divert money from agriculture into weaponry. Once again, that's what you've been seeing, more and more nations spending a lot more, right, to basically prepare for this war, right? Because that's the closing credits of this final act, right, in this man's rulership, right, is this great war, right? It's sort of like when you look at that was what was supposed to have happened with, would you call this thing, man, Game of Thrones, right? All throughout the story was building up for this great war, right? But that's really what's happening here, right? This story has just been building up to this great war that's gonna happen, right? And how Shah is gonna come in, deliver his elect, and destroy this place, okay? I.e. America's gonna be completely destroyed and never be inhabited again. Verse 11, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Let the heathen be wakened, right, and come up to the valley of Yehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about, right? And that's it, man. So in fact, let me read these last two verses. It's put you in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of Yahweh is near in the valley of decision. So that's it, man. So Lord's will, the Lord keeps things happening. The Lord keeps bringing death and destruction to this place, so that we can get the hell up out of this place, man. This is a place of our captivity, but we're seeking the kingdom. But before that, we understand that we're gonna have to go through some stuff, but that's why we pray that the Lord gives us the faith and the strength to endure the things that we'll have to go through. So as always, Lord's will, that was edifying. Until the next time we say Shalom.